The foundations of sacred architecture. Hello there. Stay a while and listen. Imagine, if you will, standing on the edge of an ancient forest, where the trees rise like silent sentinels, their bark rough and weathered by centuries of wind and rain. The scent of pine and cypress hangs thick in the air, mingling with the earthiness of the soil beneath your feet. Unlike many ancient civilizations that favored stone to build their monumental structures, Japan's builders turned to the very material that surrounded them, the trees. But in the earliest days of Japanese history, these sacred sites were born of necessity. The desire to honor deities, protect the living, and find harmony between nature and human existence spurred the development of sacred architecture. Earthquakes, often sudden and powerful, are a constant threat. This philosophy is not one of human dominance over nature, but rather one of harmony. The goal was not to impose upon nature, but to work within its limits, to adapt and coexist. This is where the magic of these ancient buildings lies. They are not separate from the landscape, they are a part of it, blending seamlessly with the forest, the mountains, and the skies. Yet, Japan's ancient architects did not design their structures to resist these natural forces. Instead, they designed them to move with them. The ability of wood to bend and sway, to absorb the shock of an earthquake, makes it an ideal material for earthquake-resistant construction. The temples and shrines, built from this flexible material, not only endure but thrive, standing as testaments to the builder's intimate understanding of nature's rhythms. But more than that, these buildings were designed to interact with nature in profound ways. The forests of Japan, vast and lush, have provided not only the resources for daily life, but also the sacred wood, forms the very heart of its spiritual architecture. Wood, in this sense, is not merely a building material. It is a living, breathing entity, one that embodies the essence of the natural world. The rustling leaves and the hum of insects create a soft, rhythmic melody, one that has been heard for generations, echoing through the centuries. The world around you feels alive, breathing with a gentle pulse. Wood, in its raw form, breathes with the environment. It adjusts to changes in temperature and moisture. Unlike stone, which can be cold and unyielding, wood flexes with the seasons. It absorbs the humidity of summer and releases it in winter, creating a dynamic equilibrium that keeps the interior of these structures comfortable, regardless of the shifting weather outside. The structures themselves feel alive, constantly changing and adapting, just like the forest from which they came. This is the world from which Japan's sacred temples rise. It is hard to imagine a time when Japan's towering temples and serene pagodas did not stand tall against the horizon. Consider the temple's very design. The choice to use wood was not purely practical, although wood's abundance across Japan's forests was certainly a contributing factor. This dynamic flexibility is especially significant in a land as seismically active as Japan. In these early buildings, we see the beginnings of a profound philosophy that would shape the future of Japan's sacred architecture. The very first of these temples, Asukadera, constructed in 588 CE, marked a monumental shift in Japan's history. It was not merely a place of worship, but a symbol of a new beginning. The Baekje kingdom, which had long-standing ties with Japan, sent skilled artisans to help construct the temple. These craftsmen brought with them advanced building techniques that would forever change the landscape of Japanese architecture. The most notable of these techniques was the use of the rammed earth method for foundation construction, a technique that involved compressing earth and sand into a solid, stable base. The structures are not isolated from their source. They are an integral part of them. The design of Asukadera was influenced by the landscape, and the materials used were chosen for their ability to blend seamlessly with the environment. It marked the beginning of Japan's engagement with the outside world. particularly with Korea and China. The wooden beams of the temple, the stone foundations, and the earth beneath all work in harmony, creating a structure that is not only beautiful but sustainable and enduring. This technique, borrowed from Bak, would go on to be a key feature in the construction of future temples and shrines throughout Japan. It was not just a building, it was a symbol of the power and influence of the Soga clan, a demonstration of their ability to shape the future of Japan. The commissioning of such a grand structure was not only a religious act, but a political one. The Soga clan used Buddhism as a tool to consolidate their power, and the construction of Asukadera was a tangible representation of their dominance. The temple's construction signified the official arrival of Buddhism in Japan, an import from the Korean kingdom of Baekje. Surrounding the pagoda were 3 wooden halls, which were designed to hold sacred objects and serve as places of meditation. These halls were not just structures, they were sacred spaces, designed to house the very essence of the divine. Each beam, each joint, was crafted with reverence and care, reflecting the spiritual dedication of the builders. The Soga clan, who played a pivotal role in this development, were deeply instrumental in introducing this foreign religion to the archipelago. The ground upon which it was built was soft and unstable, prone to shifting and settling. In response, the builders employed the rammed earth technique to stabilize the foundation. This method, which involved layering earth and compressing it into a solid base, was not only practical but a direct reflection of the builders' deep understanding of the land beneath them. The temple's foundation was not designed to resist the forces of nature, but to work with them, providing a stable base for the wooden structures above. But the story of Asukadera is also a story of adaptation and innovation. As foreign ideas blended with indigenous practices, creating something uniquely Japanese, Asukadera was built not only with local expertise, but also with the assistance of foreign craftsmen. The central feature of Asukadera was its pagoda, constructed from wood and standing proudly in the center of the temple complex. One of the most remarkable aspects of Asukadera was its ability to adapt to its environment. This interaction between the temple's design and the natural world is one of the defining characteristics of Japanese sacred architecture. As we reflect on the construction of Asukadera, it is important to recognize the cultural significance of the temple. At the same time, however, Asukadera was also a symbol of change. The influence of Baekje craftsmanship is evident in the temple's design, particularly in the construction of the roof and the use of Baekje-style tiles. These tiles, produced by Korean craftsmen, became a defining feature of Japanese temple architecture, and would go on to be used in the construction of many other temples and shrines across the country. As we stand before Asukadera, imagine the temple in its prime, a place of worship, learning, and political power. The air is thick with the scent of incense, and the sound of monks chanting drifts from within the halls. The flickering of candles illuminates the bronze Great Buddha statue, its serene expression a symbol of the wisdom and peace that Buddhism sought to bring to Japan. As you stand there, surrounded by the hum of life, you are reminded of the deep connection between the people, the land, and the spiritual forces that shaped their world. If you are enjoying this journey through time and history, perhaps now is a good moment to subscribe. The wizard will bless you with restful sleep, and the story of Japan's sacred temples will continue to unfold in your dreams, one chapter at a time. The art of preservation and resilience. Horyu-ji Temple. As we continue our journey, we arrive in Nara Prefecture to one of Japan's most significant and ancient temples, Horyu-ji Temple, founded in 607 CE by Prince Shotoku. A pivotal figure in early Japanese Buddhism, Horyu-ji is not only a spiritual monument, but also an architectural wonder. It holds the distinction of being home to the oldest surviving wooden structures in the world. with many of its buildings having stood the test of time for more than 1,400 years. These buildings, originally constructed during the Asuka period, continue to inspire awe with their enduring beauty and resilience. But why has Horyu-ji lasted for so long, despite centuries of wear and natural disasters? The answer lies in both the materials used and the meticulous techniques employed by the temple's builders. This wood, prized for its resistance to rot and decay, has proven to be the ideal material for Japan's earthquake-prone landscape. The pagoda's design, particularly its central column, the shinbashi, is one of the most remarkable features of the temple. This massive wooden column runs through the heart of the pagoda, stretching nearly 30 meters long. It serves as the temple's internal seismic damper, absorbing the energy from earthquakes and preventing the entire structure from collapsing. The Shinbashira is a true testament to the ingenuity of the Meiji, the master carpenters who spent years perfecting their craft. The ancient carpenters who worked on Horyu-ji understood that the natural flexing properties of hinoki cypress made it resistant to seismic forces. Unlike stone, which can crack and shatter under pressure, wood has the unique ability to bend and sway without losing its structural integrity. This principle of flexibility was not a discovery of modern science, but an ancient, empirical understanding passed down through generations of builders. The ancient Japanese understood the temperamental forces of nature and the importance of working with them, rather than against them. Horyu-ji's longevity speaks to a deep understanding of the natural world, and a philosophy of construction that places resilience at the forefront. The key material that has ensured Horyu-ji's survival is hinoki cypress, a wood revered for its durability and natural beauty. Imagine standing beneath the towering 5-story pagoda of Horyu-ji, its wooden structure rising into the sky. The concept of flexibility in construction is not limited to the pagoda. Throughout Horyu-ji, we find other brilliant features designed to allow the temple to bend and sway with the natural forces around it. In this method, wooden beams and columns are carefully cut and fitted together, with almost no need for nails or metal fixtures. The interlocking joints create a stable yet flexible structure, which allows the temple to adjust to the forces of nature without losing its strength. Over the years, Horyu-ji became a living monument, a building that was constantly changing and evolving while maintaining its spiritual essence. The temple's design was not static. It was a dynamic expression of the people's ongoing relationship with the natural world. The scent of incense lingers in the air, and the sound of chanting monks drifts from the main hall. The wind rustles through the trees, and the pagoda sways gently in response, its strength a quiet reminder of the forces that shaped it. The rhythm of life within the temple is steady and unhurried, much like the flow of time itself. In this sense, Horyu-ji is not just a historical building, it is a reflection of an ongoing, living tradition. The craftsmanship involved in creating these joints is astonishing. A single carpenter may spend years perfecting a single type of joint. The pagoda, with its elegantly curved roof and soaring spires, seems to float above the ground, a symbol of the harmony between human creation and the natural world. The wood, aged to a rich golden brown, tells the story of centuries of care and reverence. The kondo stands nearby, a place of quiet reflection and spiritual devotion, its wooden beams reflecting the soft light of the setting sun, each of which serves a specific purpose in ensuring the building's overall stability. Some of these joints are nearly invisible. Once the structure is complete, a testament to the precision with which they are made. The saseki, for instance, is the foundation stone used to anchor the temple's pillars. Rather than being rigidly fixed, these pillars are placed on stones that allow them to shift ever so slightly during an earthquake. This subtle movement disperses the seismic energy, preventing cracks and fractures in the structure. The saseki also prevents moisture from the ground from seeping into the wooden beams, a critical factor in maintaining the temple's integrity. Horyu-ji's survival is also due to the unique methods of kigami koho, the traditional wood joinery technique. But even the finest materials and the most meticulous techniques can only protect a structure so far. In 670 CE, a fire devastated Horyu-ji, leaving behind only ashes and charred remains. However, what could have been the end for the temple was, instead, a new beginning. The fire of 670 CE set in motion a tradition of reconstruction and preservation that would help Horyu-ji survive for more than a millennium. The temple was rebuilt, but rather than merely restoring it to its previous state, the builders incorporated new knowledge and updated techniques into the process. This willingness to adapt and renew the temple over time is a key factor in its continued survival. In the centuries that followed, Horyu-ji would suffer more fires, earthquakes, and natural disasters, but each time the temple was rebuilt or restored. Standing before Horyu-ji, it is easy to be overwhelmed by the scale of the temple's beauty and the sheer determination of those who built it. Imagine yourself there, walking through the temple's tranquil grounds. In contemplating Horyu-ji, we are reminded of the resilience of both the structure and the spirit. The temple has endured for over 1,400 years, not because it was built to last forever, but because it was built to change, to adapt, and to survive. The wizard will bless you with more stories that weave together art, culture, and the enduring power of human ingenuity, ensuring peaceful rest and pleasant dreams. This dynamic relationship with the forces of nature, coupled with the unwavering devotion of those who built and rebuilt it, has allowed Horyu-ji to remain standing as one of Japan's most revered treasures. If you find yourself captivated by the resilience of Horyu-ji and the profound craftsmanship it represents, perhaps now is the time to subscribe. The wood has a natural resistance to rot and decay, and its high resin content makes it resistant to insect damage. This makes hinoki perfect for structures that must endure harsh weather conditions, including Japan's frequent earthquakes and humid climate, yet it is also a living material, one that ages gracefully, absorbing the moisture of the environment and releasing it as needed, creating a balance between the interior and the exterior. Imagine the gentle way the wood responds to the changes of the seasons, flexing and bending with the rhythm of nature, yet never breaking, never cracking. It is a symbol of resilience in the face of time and natural forces. As we stand at the threshold of Horyu-ji Temple, let the air around you soften, as if the very atmosphere breathes the history of centuries past. Ancient carpenters, known as devoted their entire lives to mastering the intricacies of woodwork, passing their knowledge down through generations. The goal was not merely to build, but to create a structure that would endure, one that could resist the tremors of earthquakes without compromising its elegance. These carpenters worked without nails or metal fasteners, instead relying on interlocking pieces of wood, each joint crafted with such precision that once assembled, the structure seemed to come together almost like a puzzle, flawless in its cohesion. This sacred site, nestled in the ancient capital of Nara, tells a story not only of spiritual devotion but of architectural resilience, as enduring as the mountains surrounding it. To the untrained eye, it may seem like a collection of old buildings, weathered by time and fire. In Japan, hinoki is not only considered a building material, but a sacred entity. The ancient people believed that the tree's spiritual significance infused the structures built from it. The fragrance of hinoki, a soft, aromatic wood that exudes a soothing, almost meditative quality, fills the air around the temple. As you walk through its halls, the very wood seems to hum with life. But look closer, and you'll see that Horyu-ji is not simply surviving, it is thriving. Each beam, each pillar, each delicate joinery represents a profound relationship between humans and nature. The designs of the temples were not static, not a permanent fixture, but a system in constant dialogue with the earth. The temple is a living artifact, a product of ancient Japan's deep understanding of the natural world and the wisdom passed down through generations. The significance of Horyu-ji lies not only in its age, but in the way it interacts with the landscape. The hinoki cypress, which forms the backbone of Horyu-ji's structure, is more than just a material. It is a partner in the temple's survival. Hinoki is prized not only for its beauty, but for its incredible durability. This resilient material was married with an equally advanced architectural technique. Kagumi Kahuda art of wooden joinery. The precision required to craft these joints is mind. As you enter the western precinct of Horyu, take a moment to consider the Shinbashira, the central pillar that runs through the heart of the 5-story pagoda. This column is no ordinary beam. It is a giant, nearly 30 meters long, running through the core of the pagoda, like the very spine of the temple. In the event of an earthquake, the Shinbashira absorbs the shock, allowing the pagoda to sway gently without collapsing. This ingenious design, developed by generations of Meidaiku, serves as a pendulum, moving with the earth's vibrations, stabilizing the entire structure. The use of this central column reflects a deeply sophisticated understanding of engineering and material properties, an understanding that was far ahead of its time. The sounds of prayer and meditation have echoed through these halls, intertwining with the scent of incense and the rustling of the trees outside. It is a reminder that, like the wooden structures themselves, we, too, must adapt, bending with the winds of time without breaking. This dynamic interplay between stability and movement, between preservation and change, forms the very essence of what Horyu-ji represents. The wooden beams and columns bear witness to these centuries of devotion, and as you walk the grounds of Horyu-ji, you feel the weight of history in every step. But the true beauty of this design lies in its flexibility, an almost paradoxical trait for a building that must stand the test of centuries. While modern architecture often seeks to resist forces like earthquakes, the ancient Japanese approach was to design buildings that could move with nature, not against it. Fires were not uncommon in ancient Japan, and they often spelled doom for wooden structures. But in the case of Horyu-ji, the fire became a symbol of renewal. Rather than being a tragedy, the fire marked a new chapter in the temple's history. The temple was rebuilt, but this was no simple restoration. The builders incorporated new techniques and innovations, evolving the temple to meet the challenges of the future while staying true to its original spirit. This idea of flexible resilience was the key to their success, allowing temples like Horyu-ji to endure long after other buildings would have crumbled under the weight of time and disaster. The temple, like the trees it was built from, is not a static monument, but a living structure, constantly adapting and evolving over time. The idea of renewal is deeply ingrained in Japanese architecture, and at Horyu-ji, this philosophy is given form. Every time the temple was rebuilt after fire or earthquake, it was not a loss, but a reaffirmation of its spiritual and architectural vitality. The destruction of the old gave way to the creation of the new, a continuous cycle that mirrors the very cycles of nature itself. When the fire of 670 CE ravaged the temple, it could have marked the end of Horyu-ji's story. This continuous rebuilding and renewal process is integral to the story of Horyu-ji. As you stand before the great Buddha Hall or the Kondo, imagine the dedication of the artisans and the prayers of the people who have gathered here for over a millennium. But perhaps the most profound lesson that Horyu-ji imparts is one of balance, the balance between nature and human ingenuity, between the forces of destruction and the spirit of renewal. In the end, Horyu-ji's lasting beauty lies not only in its visual grandeur, but in its ability to stand as a testament to human resilience and the enduring power of nature. The temple has survived because it was built with the understanding that just as nature is ever-changing, so too must our creations evolve to thrive. The longevity of Horyu-ji is not a product of rigidity but of flexibility, a lesson in how we might approach the world around us with reverence, patience, and the quiet strength to bend without breaking. If you find yourself drawn to the resilience of Horyu-ji and the quiet power of its design, perhaps now is the time to subscribe. The wizard will bless you with more tales of enduring architecture, deep history, and peaceful rest, so that these stories may continue to find their way to you. The monumental undertaking of Todai-ji Temple. As we continue our journey, we now find ourselves standing before one of Japan's most monumental temples, situated in the heart of Nara. This grand Buddhist temple was conceived not just as a religious sanctuary. In the face of frequent disasters and political instability, Shomu believed that by building a grand temple to the Buddha, he could rally the nation and protect it from calamities. Thus, Todai-ji became more than just a temple, it became a national undertaking, one that would bring together the resources and labor of the entire country. But as a national symbol, a physical embodiment of imperial power, spiritual devotion, and cultural unity, the project consumed approximately 500 tons of copper, along with 440 kilograms of gold, to plate the statue, and 8.5 tons of tin for its creation. The sheer scale of the task was staggering, and the labor required was nothing short of monumental. Over 2.6 million people contributed to the project, from providing materials to offering labor, while 350,000 people worked directly on casting the statue. It was a national effort on a scale that had never before been attempted, with peasants, artisans, and even soldiers contributing to the creation of this national treasure. It was constructed during a period of immense change, where Japan sought to unify itself under a shared spiritual and political identity. Todai-ji was not simply a place of worship. It was a statement of the emperor as divine authority and the nation as devotion to Buddhism. The idea for Todai-ji Temple came from none other than Emperor Sho, a monarch deeply committed to Buddhism and its role in uniting the Japanese people. Imagine the scale of this ambitious project. Imagine stepping into the great Buddha Hall, the scent of aged wood and incense thick in the air. The massive wooden beams above you seem to stretch endlessly, their intricate joinery creating a seamless flow between structure and spirit. As your eyes are drawn upward, they land on the monumental great Buddha, its serene face gazing down, embodying the divine protection Shomu had hoped to bring to his people. The sheer size of the statue is overwhelming. It stands about 53 feet tall, and the bronze from which it is cast weighs approximately 500 tons. The great Buddha is not merely a religious figure. It is the physical manifestation of the emperor's vision, his hope for unity and protection, and his belief in the power of Buddhism to transform the nation. The construction of the great Buddha was a Herculean effort, requiring resources that Japan had never seen before. Yet, despite the immense resources poured into its construction, Todai-ji was not without its challenges. The sheer scale of the project, coupled with the resources needed, placed an enormous strain on the economy. Records of the time reveal that the construction of Todai-ji led to widespread hardships there, and the country's finances were stretched thin. The emperor's desire for spiritual protection, it seems, came at a significant cost to the people. But even in the face of these hardships, Todai-ji served its purpose. Upon its completion, the great Buddha was not only a symbol of Buddhist power, but also a rallying point for the nation. The dedication ceremony, held in 752 CE, was an event of unparalleled significance. thousands of monks gathered for the ceremony, which was attended by dignitaries and priests from across Asia, making it an international gathering of unprecedented proportions. The event was filled with chanting, dancing, and music, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter in Japan's spiritual and political history. In this way, the great Buddha became not just a spiritual center, but a powerful political tool, symbol of divine legitimacy for the emperor, and a reminder of the emperor's ability to marshal the resources of the entire nation in the service of the Buddha. The legacy of Todai-ji is not just in its colossal size or its spiritual significance. The construction of the great Buddha, in particular, served as a show of imperial power, declaration of the emperor's ability to command the nation's resources, labor, and dedication to his vision, the creation of Todai-ji. All its spiritual and political significance came at the price of hardship for the people, and yet it also served to solidify the emperor's role as both a spiritual and political leader, reinforcing his divine right to rule over the nation. The construction of the great Buddha and its hall was both a symbol of unity and a reminder of the costs of imperial ambition. Yet, despite the grandeur and significance of the project, there was a darker side to the undertaking. The immense labor demands, the toll on the country's economy, and the suffering caused by the strain of such an immense project led to public dissatisfaction. Historical records mention how the people suffered under the weight of the emperor's ambitions. The people suffer from the construction of one account says, as the burden of taxes and labor drained the common folk, it was clear that even the most sacred and grand of undertakings could not escape the complexities of human cost. As you stand before the massive Nandaman, the Great South Gate, and gaze upon the towering neo-Guardian figures, sculpted by the famed artists Anke, you can almost feel the weight of the history that these figures represent. These figures, standing nearly 28 feet tall, are symbols of protection, guardians of the sacred space within. Their powerful, fierce expressions evoke the strength and determination of the emperor's vision, but they also stand as silent witnesses to the human cost of such grand ambitions. The Shasu Repository, a structure housing thousands of imperial artifacts, further underscores Todai-ji's cultural and historical importance. Within its log walls, over 9,000 works of art and sacred relics are preserved, offering a glimpse into the life of the Japanese court during the 8th century. These artifacts are not only treasures, but also vital connections to the past, bridging the centuries between the creation of Todai-ji and the modern world. As you reflect on the grandeur and complexity of Todai-ji, take a moment to consider its dual role. It is both a spiritual center and a political instrument, a structure that transcends religion to become an expression of imperial power and human cost. Between the pursuit of spiritual and political power and the sacrifices required to achieve it, and even as the emperor's vision was realized in stone, wood, and bronze, it was also tempered by the harsh realities of the people's suffering, an eternal reminder that great power, great beauty, and great sacrifice often walk hand in hand. The temple's colossal size, the sheer scale of resources, even though the building has been reduced in size following its reconstruction in 1709, after fires ravaged the original structure, it still holds the title of the world's largest wooden building. The vastness of the space is overwhelming. Its beams stretch above us like the ribs of some ancient, sleeping creature, cradling the great Buddha in its embrace. The air feels dense with centuries of history, as though the very wood around us has absorbed the whispers of millions of prayers and the hum of chants. The sound of footsteps echoes softly in the distance, but the sense of quiet reverence is palpable, as if the walls themselves hold the secrets of time. And if you are enjoying this tale of monumental undertakings, consider subscribing, allowing more stories of history, devotion, as we approach we are drawn to its serene presence. The statue, which once stood at a height of 53 feet, exudes a sense of calm and profound wisdom. The cool sheen of the bronze reflects the soft light filtering through the wooden slats above. The Buddha's face, calm and composed, gazes down, offering an unspoken promise of protection to all who enter this sacred space. Despite its size, the Buddha is not imposing. Instead, its quiet majesty commands reverence, without any need for words, and the human spirit to unfold before you, just as Todai-ji's story has, over centuries. And the immense labor required to bring it to life remind us of the lengths to which Japan went to unite the nation under one banner under the protection of the Buddha. Perhaps, in that moment of reflection, the true lesson of Todai-ji becomes clear. The balance between grand ambition as you listen to the story of Todai. Let the wizard's blessing guide you toward peaceful rest. As we walk further into the rich tapestry of Japan's spiritual and architectural history, we come upon the most awe-inspiring creation of the Nara period, Todai-ji Temple. This great Buddhist temple, conceived by Emperor Sh, stands as a testament to the monumental ambitions of a ruler striving to unite a nation through the embrace of Buddhism. More than just a temple, Todai-ji embodies an entire epocha of Japan's religious, political, and cultural transformation, and its towering presence can still be felt today. Let us take a moment to imagine ourselves standing at the entrance to the great Buddha Hall. The gate before us is massive, its wooden beams dark and polished, the scent of aged timber mingling with the faint trace of incense that seems to hang in the air. As we pass beneath the threshold, the vastness of the hall unfolds before us. It is hard to comprehend the scale of what lies inside. The very ground beneath our feet seems to vibrate with the weight of history. The great Buddha Hall, or Daibutsu-den, was once the largest wooden structure in the world, spanning an astonishing 288 feet by 169 feet. At the heart of this hall stands the great Buddha, a monumental bronze statue of Vairocana Buddha. To think of the labor and resources required to create such a monumental figure, the great Buddha was not merely a piece of art, it was the physical manifestation of Emperor Shomu's vision for Japan. The great Buddha was not just a religious idol, it was a symbol of imperial power. Emperor Shomu, a ruler who believed deeply in the spiritual power of Buddhism, commissioned this colossal statue to serve as a beacon of divine authority. The great Buddha Hall and the statue at its heart became symbols of the unity of Japan under the Emperor's divine authority. This gate, reconstructed in the late 12th century, is flanked by two towering neo-guardian figures, which stand nearly 28 feet tall. This log-built structure houses over 9,000 works of art and imperial relics, many of which were donated to the temple by the emperor as offerings to the Buddha. These relics are not just artifacts. They represent the spiritual and cultural heart of 8th century Japan. The Shasuin provides an invaluable glimpse into the life of the imperial court and the nation's commitment to preserving its cultural heritage. These figures, crafted by the renowned sculptors, exude an air of fierce strength, their eyes wide with a sense of watchfulness and protection. The neo-figures, created in a short span of 69 days, are a stunning example of the woodblock construction technique that would later become a hallmark of Japanese sculpture. As you stand beneath their towering forms, you feel as though you are being protected from the forces that might seek to destroy this sacred place. The temple was a physical manifestation of the emperor's power and the collective devotion of the people. The dedication ceremony in 752 CE was a momentous event, attended by thousands of monks, dignitaries, and lay people, and it marked the beginning of a new era for Japan. The ceremony was not only a religious event, but a political one. solidifying the emperor's divine right to rule and the national commitment to Buddhism. The Buddha was meant to protect Japan from the frequent natural disasters, famines, and political instability that plagued the country during his reign. The sheer size and grandeur of the statue served as a reminder of the emperor's belief that Buddhism could not only shape the spiritual destiny of Japan, but also provide the strength needed to face the challenges of the world. A vision that sought to unite the nation through Buddhism and the strength of the Buddha's divine protection. The sheer scale of the project drained the nation's resources. The labor required to construct Todai-ji and to cast the great Buddha placed an immense burden on the common people. The people's labor was conscripted. The cost of building this temple and creating the statue contributed to economic hardship. The historical records tell us that the people suffered from the construction of Todai, a reflection of the tremendous toll the project took on the nation. It is a stark reminder that even the grandest of spiritual ambitions come with a price, one that is often borne by those who have the least. The creation of this statue was a monumental effort that consumed 500 tons of copper, 440 kilograms of gold, and 8.5 tons of tin. The vast amount of material needed was a reflection of the scale of ambition behind this project. The labor force was equally immense, with over 2.6 million people contributing in some way to the effort, and 350,000 workers directly involved in its casting. As we stand before this imposing figure, let us consider the immense spiritual weight it carries. However, the grandeur of this undertaking came at a great cost. But despite these hardships, Todai-ji served its intended purpose. As we walk through the temple grounds, we are greeted by the Nandaman, or Great South Gate, which stands as a powerful guardian of the temple. Inside the temple, the Shasuin repository stands as a final testament to the cultural importance of Todai. As we stand in awe of Todai-ji, take a moment to consider its true significance. On one hand, it is an expression of the emperor's will, an assertion of power and control over the nation. The wooden beams above creak softly, the scent of incense fills the air, and the murmur of distant prayers reaches your ears. They remind us that the path to creating something monumental is never without sacrifice, and that even the most enduring creations are shaped by the hands of many, some known and some forgotten. The wizard will bless you with a peaceful night's sleep and more stories of ancient ambition, resilience, and spiritual devotion, guiding you into restful slumber with dreams filled with the echoes of history. In the quiet corners of Todai-ji, we find not just a physical structure, but the beating heart of an ancient nation, its triumphs, its struggles, and its dreams. The grandeur of the space is matched only by the sense of eternity it conveys. But on the other hand, it is a spiritual journey, an expression of the shared faith of the people and their devotion to the Buddha. The tension between imperial ambition and the suffering of the common people is a delicate balance, is reflected in the very structure of the temple. The great Buddha, a serene symbol of peace, stands as a reminder of the price paid for such grand visions. Visions that unite a nation in pursuit of something greater than itself. As the light fades and the temple grows quiet, imagine yourself there, standing in the shadow of the great Buddha, your thoughts quieted by the immense sense of peace that seems to radiate from the statue. And as we leave Todai-ji, we take with us the knowledge that such while often the product of great ambition, are also reflections of human frailty and the toll of greatness. If this exploration of Todai-ji and its incredible history has captured your imagination, perhaps now is the moment to subscribe. The enduring legacy of Ise Grand Shrine. Our journey now takes us to one of Japan's most revered and sacred sites. Ise Grand Shrine, a temple that not only represents the spiritual heart of Japan, but also encapsulates the delicate balance between tradition and Situated in the lush landscape of Mie Prefecture, this sacred Shinto site, dedicated to Amaterasu, Omikami, the sun goddess, and the divine ancestor of the imperial family. The hinoki cypress trees, their trunks, tall and straight, seem to sway gently in the breeze, their scent filling your lungs with every breath. The ground beneath your feet feels solid, yet at the same time, it has a certain yielding softness, a reminder that the earth itself is living, constantly shifting and changing, just as the temple has done for centuries, has stood for over a millennium, as a symbol of renewal, divinity, and reverence for the forces of nature. The Miyadaiku, the highly skilled carpenters who are entrusted with this sacred task, are the key figures in the process. They are not merely builders. They are spiritual craftsmen, dedicating their entire lives to the knowledge and techniques passed down through generations. The Miyadaiku train for years, mastering the ancient art of kigami wood joinery that uses no nails or metal fasteners. Their craftsmanship is not simply about constructing buildings, but about creating sacred spaces where the spirit can reside. Imagine standing at the threshold of Ise Grand Shrine, the soft rustle of the surrounding trees filling the air. As you enter the sacred grounds, there is a profound sense of stillness. The soft murmur of nature, the distant hum of the wind, and the occasional chirp of birds are all that can be heard. This tranquility is a reflection of the temple's purpose, to provide a space for spiritual connection, where the boundaries between the sacred and the natural world seem to dissolve. The Ise Grand Shrine is not merely a place of worship. It is a living, breathing expression of the Shinto belief in the interconnectedness of all things, human beings, nature, and the divine. The very foundation of Ise Grand Shrine is built on the principle of renewal, a concept deeply ingrained in every 20 years. A tradition known as Shikinen Singu sees the complete rebuilding of both the inner shrine and the outer shrine, as well as the Horyu-ji bridge. This cycle of rebuilding, which has been practiced for over 1,300 years, is not a mere act of preservation but a profound philosophical and spiritual practice. It reflects the Shinto belief in the impermanence of all things, the idea that everything, even the most sacred objects, must be allowed to renew and transform in order to maintain their vitality and spiritual essence. Picture the scene as the sacred Shikinen Sengu ritual unfolds. The rebuilding process of Ise Grand Shrine begins years before the official ceremony. The hinoki cypress used in the construction is carefully chosen from the ancient forests of a sacred grove that has provided the wood for the shrine's structures for over 1,000 years. The Miyadaiku work without the aid of power tools, relying solely on their hands and traditional tools passed down through generations. The wood is meticulously shaped, cut, and joined, with each piece fitting into place like a puzzle, creating a harmonious whole. The joints are designed to flex and move with the changing seasons, just as the trees of the forest bend with the wind. The structure before you is both ancient and new, embodying the essence of Tokawaka, the Shinto philosophy of eternal renewal and the simple yet elegant design of the shrine, with its raised floors, gabled roof, and absence of adornment, speaks to the Shinto reverence for nature. The materials are raw, unadorned, and left to age gracefully with the passing of time. There is an incredible beauty in this simplicity, a quiet elegance that reflects the philosophy of purity and humility that lies at the heart of Shintoism. There is no rigid permanence here. Instead, the architecture of Ise Grand Shrine embodies the fluidity of life itself. There are no loud voices here, no bustling crowds. The only sounds are the soft whispers of the wind through the trees, the rhythmic movement of the leaves, and the quiet footfalls of those who come to offer their prayers. This is a space of deep contemplation, where the soul can find peace in the midst of the natural world. Imagine the Miyadiku carefully selecting each tree, examining its grain, its form, and its spirit. Only the finest wood is chosen. Each piece must possess the strength and resilience required to stand the test of time and the forces of nature. As each tree is felled, there is a deep reverence for the life it once held, a spiritual acknowledgement that this sacrifice will serve the greater purpose of preserving the shrine's divine energy. Once the wood is harvested, the construction process begins in earnest. As the new structure rises, you can sense the sacredness of the work, the rhythm of the carpenter's hands, the quiet murmur of prayers offered as they work, and the collective effort of the community all contribute to the creation of a space that is not only physically beautiful but spiritually powerful. The construction of Ise Grand Shrine is a ritual in itself, an offering to the gods that carries deep meaning for both the builders and the people they serve. When the new shrine is completed, the old structure is dismantled, and its materials are not discarded, but repurposed. Wood from the old shrine is used to build torii gates, smaller shrines, and sacred objects that are scattered throughout Japan. This practice of recycling the old to create the new speaks to the Shinto belief in the continuity of life, that, even in the process of destruction, there is creation. There is no end, only renewal. The old is honored, not discarded. Standing in front of the newly rebuilt shrine, you feel a deep sense of tranquility and renewal. As you move through the sacred space, you are surrounded by the deep silence that has always been a hallmark of the Ise Grand Shrine. Ise Grand Shrine stands not only as a testament to the spiritual practices of ancient Japan, but as a living example of the nation's relationship with the natural world. The shrine is not separate from nature, it is an integral part of it. The Shikinen Sengu tradition places an enormous demand on natural resources, particularly the hinoki cypress trees, which take hundreds of years to reach the size required for construction. The Ise Grand Shrine, though steeped in ancient customs, is not immune to the forces of change. It stands as a reminder that traditions must evolve in order to continue, and that the wisdom of the past must be used to guide the decisions of the future. The trees of Kyokuren are being harvested at an increasing rate, and environmental concerns have arisen about the long-term sustainability of this practice. The wizard will bless you with restful sleep, filled with the calm wisdom of ancient traditions and the renewal of spirit. There is a profound peace here, an assurance that even in the face of modern challenges, this sacred place will continue to thrive, to renew, and to offer a connection between the divine, nature, and humanity. A stillness envelops the area, broken only by the natural sounds of the forest, a rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, the soft whisper of wind moving through the ancient trees. The hinoki cypress trees surrounding the shrine are tall, their trunks standing like sentinels, each barked surface weathered and etched by time. There is a profound peace here, a serene quiet that invites reflection and connection with the divine. It's almost as if the very air itself has absorbed the prayers of centuries past. The balance between cultural heritage and environmental conservation is delicate, and as the next rebuilding cycle approaches, the question of how to maintain this sacred tradition while protecting the environment is one that will shape the future of Ise Grand Shrine. The trees that surround it, the earth beneath its foundations, and the air that carries the whispers of prayers all work together to create a space where the divine can be felt in every moment. And yet, despite the deep respect for nature that Ise Grand Shrine embodies, it faces its own modern-day challenges. Yet, this very challenge also highlights the dynamic relationship between tradition and the modern world. As we stand before Ise Grand Shrine, the quiet hum of its centuries-old tradition seems to fill the space around us, Before we leave, take a moment to reflect on the significance of Shikin and Singutha, eternal cycle of destruction and renewal. It is a reminder that all things must be allowed to evolve, to change, and to adapt, so that they may continue to thrive. In this tradition, there is no death, only the promise of rebirth. As you take this final breath of peace from Ise Grand Shrine, perhaps now is the time to subscribe. As we stand before the sacred grounds of Ise Grand Shrine, imagine the landscape stretching out before you. In this hallowed space, we come face to face with the sacred philosophy of Shinto, belief system deeply rooted in the interconnection between humans, nature, and the divine. The architecture of Ise Grand Shrine's simple yet profound reflects this philosophy. Ise Grand Shrine is not built to last forever in its material form. Instead, it is designed to be rebuilt and renewed every 20 years. This renewal process, known as Shikenon, ensures that the shrine maintains its vitality and that the traditions and spiritual practices associated with it continue to evolve. It is a practice that reflects the Shinto belief in the cyclical nature of life, where the shrine may be rebuilt every 20 years, but the craftsmanship and wisdom embedded in every piece of wood remain constant. The hinoki cypress, harvested with reverence from the ancient forests of Kuakirin, is not merely a material, it is part of the living spirit of the shrine. These trees have stood for centuries, their roots deep in the earth, their branches reaching toward the heavens. As the new shrine is constructed, the wood from the old shrine is not discarded but repurposed, often in the creation of torii gates and smaller shrines scattered throughout Japan. This practice of recycling the old to create the new is deeply symbolic. It signifies that while the physical form of things may fade, their spiritual essence endures and is continuously renewed. And renewal are not seen as opposites, but as part of an endless cycle that continues to shape the universe. Shinmazukuri, the style in which the shrine is built, is characterized by unadorned, unfinished wood, unassuming yet potent. The temple's raised floors, the gabled roofs, and the absence of decorative features are deliberate choices that reflect the Shinto reverence for nature's purity and simplicity. The design is in complete harmony with the surroundings, as though the structure itself is a living extension of the forest. Here, within this sacred space, we are reminded that impermanence is an essential tenet of Shintoism. Consider the significance of Shikinen Sengu in this context. The act of rebuilding the shrine every 2 decades is more than just an architectural task. It is a spiritual ritual that serves as a physical manifestation of the impermanence of all things. These men are not merely artisans. They are spiritual practitioners whose craft is infused with the understanding that the work they do is sacred. Their training takes years, even decades, and requires a deep understanding of both wood and spirit. The kagumi, the intricate wood joinery techniques used in the shrine's construction, are passed down through generations. These joints, which hold the structure together without the use of nails or metal, are not only functional but symbolic. They reflect the Shinto belief in harmony, that all things in the universe, while distinct, are interrelated and must fit together seamlessly to create balance and peace. The shrine, like the hinoki cypress trees that surround it, is born. It grows, it decays, and it is reborn. In this constant cycle of destruction and creation, there is no end, only the promise of renewal. Each rebuilding cycle is an opportunity to reaffirm the spiritual essence of the shrine, to connect once more with the forces of nature and the divine. Imagine the Miyadika, the highly skilled carpenters who are entrusted with this sacred task. As you walk through the sacred precincts of the shrine, notice how every detail, from the rough-hewn beams to the precisely placed wooden joints, speaks to this philosophy of impermanence and interconnectedness. Let's now focus on the procession that takes place during Shikinen Shingu. This sacred ritual is a time of immense significance. For the people of Japan, it is not simply a building project, it is a national celebration of the spiritual vitality of Japan itself. This piece is not simply the absence of sound, but the profound knowledge that the cycle of life, death, and renewal continues uninterrupted. The shrine before you is both new and ancient, a reminder that everything in the universe, from the smallest insect to the tallest tree, is part of this eternal cycle. How can the wisdom of ancient practices be adapted to meet the needs of the present while also ensuring the sustainability of the future? The challenge of balancing cultural heritage and environmental responsibility is one that many modern societies face. But Ise Grand Shrine provides a unique lens through which we can understand the importance of adaptation. Perhaps the answer lies in redefining renewal not just as a physical act, but as a dynamic engagement with the environment, where sustainability and tradition go hand in hand. People gather from across the country, participating in this sacred act of renewal. The hinoki cypress, the sacred wood that has been used for centuries, is increasingly in short supply due to the high demand for timber. As the demand for hinoki increases, the forests of Kuek, which have long supplied the wood for the shrine's construction, are being depleted. This brings with it concerns about the long-term sustainability of the Shikinen Shingu process and the environmental impact it may have on Japan's ancient forests. Priests, artisans, and faithful all come together to bring the shrine back to life, one sacred beam at a time. As each piece of wood is placed into the structure, it is consecrated with prayers and blessings. There is a deep sense of community in this act, a recognition that the shrine belongs to all, and that through its renewal, the nation itself is renewed. As you stand in front of the newly completed shrine, the sun setting in the distance behind the trees, there is a sense of peace that envelops you. Yet, despite the beauty of this continuous renewal, there is an awareness that Ise Grand Shrine, like many sacred spaces, now faces challenges that require it to evolve in ways that balance tradition with the realities of modernity. The very act of preserving tradition in the face of modern challenges poses an intriguing question. Despite these challenges, the Shikinen Shingu ritual continues to be a powerful force in preserving the spiritual essence of Ise Grand Shrine. The rebuilding of the shrine is a reminder that even in a world that is rapidly changing, there are practices that continue to hold deep meaning and that can adapt to new circumstances without losing their essence. Ise Grand Shrine is a living monument to this process of adaptation. It is both a symbol of Japan's ancient past and a beacon for its future. As you reflect on the beauty and complexity of Ise Grand Shrine, let the wisdom of its tradition guide you. Its practice of renewal invites us all to consider our own connections to the world around us, too, can adapt and grow, honoring the past while embracing the future. If the story of Ise Grand Shrine's eternal renewal has resonated with you, perhaps now is the time to subscribe. The wizard will bless you with peaceful dreams, filled with the wisdom of timeless traditions, and more tales of sacred places that carry the heart of humanity forward through the ages. A legacy carved in wood, stone, and spirit as our journey through the sacred temples and shrines of ancient Japan comes to a close. We find ourselves immersed in the quiet rhythms of history. These magnificent structures Asukadera, Horyu-ji, Todai-ji and Ise Grand Shrine stand not only as physical edifices of stone and wood, but as living testaments to the resilience, spirit and ingenuity of a people deeply intertwined with the natural world and the divine. The temple's birth marked a new beginning for Japan, bringing Buddhism into the heart of its spiritual and political landscape. The blending of indigenous wisdom with external knowledge created a foundation upon which the country's sacred architecture would grow. Each temple, in its own way, reflects the profound connection between human creativity and the forces of nature. The Hinoki cypress, used in the construction of the temple, symbolized resilience, bending and swaying with the forces of nature, especially earthquakes. The Shinbashira column, a brilliant piece of engineering, absorbed the shock of seismic forces, allowing the structure to continue standing through centuries of disasters. Horyu-ji teaches us that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in resisting the forces of nature, but in learning to live with them, to bend, to sway, and to find resilience in adaptability. With the very material that these structures are built from, serves as both a shelter and a symbol of harmony with the world around us, from the bending branches of the cypress trees to the intricate wooden joints that hold the buildings together. We see that these ancient structures are not merely human creations. They are a living dialogue with the earth, adapting to its forces, and in doing so, enduring far longer than most other structures could. In Asukadera, we saw how foreign influence could be woven into the fabric of a new, distinctly Japanese architectural and spiritual identity. At Horyu-ji, we witnessed the art of building for both longevity and flexibility. Then, at Todai-ji, we experienced the breathtaking scale of imperial ambition. The great Buddha, created through the efforts of over 2.6 million people, was not just a statue, it was a monument to unity and spiritual protection. The Shikinen Sengu tradition, in which the shrine is rebuilt every 20 years, reflects a profound understanding of the impermanence of all things. In Shinto, everything is in constant flux, and nothing is meant to last forever. The rebirth of the shrine every 2 decades is a reminder that tradition itself is not static, but must evolve to remain alive. The resilience of wood, the fluidity of renewal, and the quiet power of adaptability are not just themes of the past, but lessons that continue to guide us. Like the great temples and shrines we have explored tonight, we, too, can find strength in flexibility and peace in him. Ise teaches us that renewal is not a sign of weakness but a celebration of life, a reaffirmation that, no matter what changes, the spirit endures. The challenge of sustainability and the careful balance between honoring tradition and protecting the environment is a lesson that continues to resonate today. Yet, as with all grand projects, we saw the cost of such ambition as sacrifice of the people who labored under the weight of such monumental work. Todai-ji reminds us that even the greatest structures are built with both vision and sacrifice, and that imperial power often carries with it a deep human toll. The legacy of these places speaks to the interconnectedness of all things human, natural, and divine, and invites us to consider how we, too, might adapt and evolve in harmony with the world around us. In the impermanence of life, there is profound beauty and meaning, and in our collective devotion to something greater than ourselves, we find purpose. Still, through this tension, Todai-ji became a symbol of divine protection, a reflection of the ruler's strength and the collective devotion of the people. Lastly, we arrived at Ise Grand Shrine, a place where the eternal cycle of renewal takes center stage. As we step back and take in the beauty of these sacred places, we find that they have more than just architectural significance. They hold lessons of life, of spiritual connection, and of human resilience. From the flexible, earthquake-resistant temples of Horyu-ji to the ever-renewing soul of Ise Grand Shrine, we are reminded of our own relationship with time, nature, and the spirit. These temples are not just relics of the past, they are living traditions, constantly evolving and renewing, just as the cycles of nature itself do. as the night deepens, and the quiet hum of history fades into the distance, let the peacefulness of these ancient teachings settle in your heart. Now as you prepare for rest, let the stories we've shared guide you into a peaceful sleep, where the wisdom of ancient builders, the serenity of the great Buddha, and the timeless renewal of Ise Grand Shrine will accompany you into your dreams. The wizard will bless you with tranquil sleep, and when you wake, the world will seem a little quieter, a little more connected, just like the sacred temples we've journeyed through tonight. Ise Grand Shrine, Horyu-ji, and Asukadera stand not only as physical monuments to the past, but as living expressions of a deep, spiritual connection to the world around them. Like the trees from which its beams are carved, the temple moves with the earth, its wooden joints designed to flex and bend in the face of nature's tremors. This lesson of flexibility in the face of adversity, of bending but not breaking, of adapting without losing essence, is one that speaks deeply to all of us. Resilience is not about rigid resistance to the forces around us, but about the ability to bend, adapt, and grow in the face of life's challenges. It is in this quiet flexibility that we find the strength to endure and to thrive. Just as the great wooden temples of Japan have done for centuries, these ancient temples, made of wood, stone, and spirit, carry the wisdom of generations past, wisdom that is as relevant today as it was when the first beams of wood were set into place. If you've enjoyed this tale and the journey through these sacred spaces, perhaps it's time to subscribe. The wizard will bless you again with more stories of tranquility, wisdom, and serenity, leading you toward even more peaceful nights, filled with the echoes of history and the warmth of ancient wisdom. The very act of building these sacred sites, of shaping wood and stone to create something lasting yet ever, speaks to a profound understanding of the relationship between life and we see in Ise Grand Shrine's rebuilding cycle a reflection of the eternal renewal of nature itself. Everything must eventually return to the earth, only to be reborn again. In this renewal, there is no loss, only transformation. It is not just the shrine that is rebuilt every 2 decades, but the connection between the people and the sacred forces that guide them, keeping it fresh, vibrant, and ever-present in the hearts of those who honor it. As we pause in the quiet conclusion of our journey, we find ourselves deeply immersed in the profound lessons carried by the sacred spaces we've explored tonight. The temples we've visited tonight are more than just places of worship. They are embodiments of a philosophy that speaks to the core of human existence. In the grace of Horyu-ji's enduring wooden structures, we see flexibility as the true measure of strength. The grandiosity of Todai-ji and its great Buddha, a monumental symbol of protection and unity, reminds us that greatness is not without cost. The emperor's vision to create something that would unify and protect his nation came with immense sacrifices, labors of love and sweat from thousands of people. Built in a time of great change, it marks the arrival of Buddhism and the deep cultural shifts it brought. Its legacy speaks to the idea that change, whether it is spiritual, cultural, or personal, need not be feared, but embraced. The integration of new ideas, the blending of cultures, and the adaptation of foreign wisdom into Japan's spiritual and architectural identity were not only acts of transformation but of innovation and growth. As we reflect on this, we are reminded that embracing new ideas, different perspectives, and personal evolution is an essential part of our shared human journey. In this, we are reminded that even the greatest dreams are built upon the sacrifices of others. Todai-ji teaches us that while grand ambitions can serve the common good, they must also be tempered with compassion and a recognition of the human toll that can be incurred in their pursuit. Yet despite these challenges, the great Buddha remains a symbol of spiritual protection and unity, enduring as a reminder of the shared hopes of a people bound by a common cause. And finally, Asukadera, the first of Japan's grand Buddhist temples, stands as a beacon of spiritual transformation. As we close our eyes tonight, the stories of these sacred spaces linger softly in our hearts, like the whisper of wind through ancient trees. The lessons of renewal, flexibility, and adaptation woven into these architectural marvels are not just relics of a distant past, they are guiding principles that we can carry into our own lives. Just as the Hinoki cypress bends with the wind and the Shikonen Sengu cycle continues to breathe life into Ise Grand Shrine, so too can we learn to navigate the ever-changing rhythms of our own existence with grace, understanding, and an unwavering connection to the greater world around us. The temples we visited tonight invite us to reflect on the interconnectedness of all things the divine, the natural, and the human, and the role we each play in this vast, unfolding story. The temples we've explored stand as guardians, not only of the past, but of the future, reminders that traditions must evolve, spiritual practices must renew, and we, too, must remain open to the flow of life's cycles. The wisdom of these sacred places, though ancient, continues to resonate, urging us to live with flexibility, to embrace change, and to honor the impermanence of all things. Whether it is the building of a shrine, the crafting of a sacred object, or the quiet moments of reflection in a temple's shadow, every act of creation is a reflection of the ongoing cycle of life, death, and renewal that sustains us all. The wizard, who guides us through history's most tranquil tales, will bless you with peaceful dreams tonight. The wizard's blessings will continue to fill your nights with peaceful stories, ensuring that every journey we embark on brings tranquility, wisdom, and rest. The wisdom of Ise, Horyu-ji, Todai-ji, and Asukadera will gently unfold in your mind as you sleep, filling your dreams with quiet inspiration and a deeper connection to the world around you. And as we prepare to drift into sleep, let us hold these reflections gently in our minds. In the silence of the night, may we find peace in knowing that, just like the temples, our spirits can endure through renewal, and in each new day we are reborn. Let the spirit of these ancient places guide you softly to rest, offering you calm and serenity as you surrender to the stillness of the night. In dreams, you may walk again among the cypress trees, feel the strength of the wooden beams beneath your feet, and listen to the ancient chants that still echo through time. As the night settles around you, take comfort in the knowledge that the lessons of these sacred places are always with you. If you find yourself touched by the stories we've shared, perhaps it is time to subscribe.